welcome back for another episode of Awaken and Ascend. I am Jennifer Regular, your host and the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. Today I have another very special guest, and her name is Dianna Watson. She is one who loves to learn and share knowledge and everything that she gained along her way as she navigates her own soul's journey. And today she's sharing a little something that she's learned along the way, maybe a few somethings. One thing that she does know for sure is that she wants to be a better person tomorrow than she was today. And her vision is for everyone to embrace that so that we can uplift and become a better humanity. Over the last 10 years, Dianna has really delved deep into her Indigenous Algonquin heritage. And one of those teachings that she's learned and carries along and shares with others is the 7 grandfather teachings, which is what she is here to share with us today. So Dianna, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure. I'm really honored to be here.
Wonderful. And I know a little bit about you and all of the different adventures you've had traveling through the world. And she's been a continuous student, teacher, and writer, and student of life, really. And I'm really curious about the role that the 7 grandfather teachings has played in your life and why that is so vital to your journey, your soul's journey now.
Well, I just learned about the 7 grandfather teachings about, I would say, 8 years ago and thereabouts. And when I learned about them, I was really surprised that I had never heard of them before, and also that it's never been taught anywhere that I've been along my whole life's journey. And when I recognized the depth of the knowledge of it all, I felt that it was really very valuable for anyone and everyone, no matter where we are on our path, no matter how old we are, what culture we come from, what religion. So for me, it's made me more mindful about being a better person tomorrow or today than I was yesterday. And so some of the teachings that I'll share with you about the 7 teachings, just an overview. So there's love, which is the most important one that I feel that they're all encompassing. And the other is truth, there's honesty, there's courage, humility, wisdom, and there's 7 of them: truth, love, respect, courage, honesty, humility, and wisdom. And I feel that whenever I am mindfully paying attention to these each day, then it helps me to be a better person overall. There's so much depth to each one that I would be able to embrace, or just to focus on one each day. And yeah, it makes a difference.
I find that even as you name them and mention each word, the depth that was inherent in each one of them, it's activating. It's calling in those qualities, I think, that we all want to be able to emanate. At least I know I do. And you can give us a like or put it in the comments if you do too. And which one really speaks to you as they're being read or being talked about? Which one really feels activating for you right now? And for Dianna, I'd ask you the same. Which one do you feel most called to even today?
Today, I think truth has been coming up for me. Every now and then one seems to surface more in my everyday life. Mm-hmm. And so truth, it comes up. And for me, what that means is for me to understand my truth. And what is it that's true for me that could be different from, other people around me, from everyone. But if it's what I believe is my truth, and then I need to stay true to myself above all else, no matter what I hear or read elsewhere. And so it really helps to get to know myself better, because I can keep asking myself, is that true for me? And if it is, then I will take that on, as a belief, as a value. And then I am more able to more easily speak my truth to others, And if someone's crossing my boundaries, I can state something right away because I'm certain about my truth and who I am. It really helps me to understand the depth of what's important and what I value as my truth, to be
It's
able to
really a way
express it.
in, aligned right to your personal truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And is there a certain order to go through when you're doing the teachings?
No, there's no specific order. But when we do teach it, we tend to start with love just because it seems to be intertwined into all the others. Without love, we don't have any of the others. We can't be truthful to ourselves. It's not a self-loving thing to do if we're making up stories and justifying things and not really being true to ourselves, then that's not a self-loving thing, for example. So it's the most powerful one, I think, as well. So that would be the one that we tend to start with, and we even end up ending with it as well, or it pops up in and around all the others as we're sharing our teachings.
What do you think is the most important thing to know about?
I feel that self-love is the most important thing to know, because if we can't give ourselves love, then we don't have any within us to give to others. And conversely, if we're not able to hold that, then we cannot receive it otherwise. So it's important to be able to know that depth of love and to work on that each day. And so that can look like compassion and understanding and non-judgmental towards others, to be more loving to others and to ourselves, not judging ourselves harshly if we've done something that in hindsight we would have done differently, and just to be more kind and respectful and compassionate with ourselves and with everyone around us.
And respect is a big part of the teachings as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's very synonymous with love, I feel, because if you're respectful to someone, then you're going to treat them lovingly, and you're not going to harm them or degrade them, or place them in a position that's disrespectful, basically, that's not treating them as you would like to be treated.
Mm-hmm. As we're talking about truth, and we're talking about love, and we're talking about respect, there's also another teaching about humility, which is interesting because it almost seems counter to truth, love, and respect, right? About being aligned in your values and being in your personal truth and being able to respect yourself and others and come from a place of love. So what's humility all about? What does that mean?
To me, it means not only knowing that we are equal to everyone else, but also that we are not above or below anyone else. And not only people, but in the Indigenous tradition too, we're equal to the animal kingdom, to the tree people, to the rock people, that we're all equal to the four-legged, the winged ones, the creepers, the swimmers, that we're all equal. And when we see that and know that, not only read it and understand it, but live it and walk that truth each day, then that brings on humility. So it can put the ego aside more, or in the background, or not up in the forefront, thinking that we as the two-legged are better than anyone else or anything else. That we're all equal. And that's where that saying comes from, all my relations. That means that we're all related and we're all equal because we all have the same Father, our Creator.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And these teachings actually remind me of what Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, used to talk about when seeds of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like that in a way of what we want to nurture in those seeds of consciousness, because we can just as easily nurture ego-based ways of living and being in the world, as well as the soul-intended ways of being and living in the world. And seeing all of life as equal. It's what we tend to water and to nurture. And we have all of that within us. And it can see how seven grandfather teachings would support us in watering those seeds and knowing which seeds to water and how we choosing how we want to walk on this earth and in this time and in this experience of life in this human consciousness that we co-created right now. And as you say, be a great hope if all of us would try to be better tomorrow than we were today, always evolving. And again, it's not an ego thing, but just evolving and continuing to water those seeds of consciousness and carry those teachings with us and to be able to share them and embody them in such a profound and powerful way that we can really elevate as a humanity, find our common humanity amongst all our relations.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that takes courage.
That's
too,
true.
and bravery, which I think was one of the other teachings. Is that right?
Courage is
courage.
Yeah. It takes courage to stand up against what we don't believe in, or against something that is harming our environment or whatever. If someone is speaking to us in a disrespectful way, to say something, and to be able to listen to what our soul's calling is and to follow it. That takes courage. And to accept the changes that are going on around us, whether we like it or not. And sometimes we're guided to do something that feels big, but it takes courage to step forward out of our comfort zone and to maybe follow a new career path, drop an old one and take a new one, or leave a relationship, that is not healthy for us, and to go it alone, or to make big changes in our life. It takes courage, and we all have it. And sometimes it takes more situations in our lives to be able to force ourselves to dig down deep and find that courage within us. We always seem to manage to get through things, no matter how big they may seem in the moment. But when we step forward into it, and then we can find that courage. We have the option always, the choice to step back and just cower in the corner and let that opportunity go by us. Or we have the choice to dig in and find that courage and bring it forth with us. And there are animals associated with the seven teachings, and the bear is associated with courage. So when we think about the bear, we think of it as being a big, strong animal, and it would do anything the mother bear would do anything to protect her young, and just be very, very courageous. So that's an image. And we can call upon the bear when we need to get some more courage that we're not feeling in the moment.
Beautiful. I love how you spoke that courage can come from within, and we call that up. And it can also come later once we actually step into the thing that's kind of scary, right? And to make that change. And change we can really see as transformation, just going beyond, transcending the form that relationship or that career or that job or that path had taken before, moving beyond that and transforming into a new way of being, a new way of living. And it sounded like you spoke from experience, Dianna, when you talked about the career shifts and the different relationship changes and so on. And I'm sure a lot of the audience too that are listening and watching can relate to that. And there's some that are still considering that too. And I think that's where these teachings again can be very helpful in being able to make those decisions and deciding not necessarily what to do, but how to be.
Yes, we can read about these and we can hear about them, we can understand them, but the gift is to be able to embrace them and to make them our own, to the point where we live it, we walk the talk, and we are these teachings. And it doesn't come overnight. It takes daily practice and mindfulness to be able to pay attention and catch ourselves if we're not being honest, or if we're not being respectful, or if we're out of alignment. Then our daily path will show that. We'll get it mirrored back to us in that won't look very pleasant. And when we are following all of these, life just flows with ease and grace. It's amazing how that happens. Synchronicities happen. People walk into our path and just, can I give you this? And let me help you with that. And it's a beautiful thing. And to me, that's my confirmation that I'm living the seven teachings. It's just divine grace that is right in front of us on a silver platter. So it's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful. And it's interesting too to look at them and see which ones, we can adopt easily and which ones might be a little difficult for us. I heard you mention honesty.
Mm-hmm.
People really hesitate to be totally honest with someone, especially if they're asked a direct question about something. I don't want to hurt their feelings, or, you want to protect the way that you're seen and heard, or, something holds us back from being totally honest, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And so how do the Seven Grandfathers teachings talk about honesty?
It's an interesting one, and can be very obvious and blatant, or can be very subtle as well. To me, in our society, we have a tendency to want people to see us in a certain light. And so we can make up all kinds of stories and put on the plastic smile, or, the mask. And yes, this is who I am. I'm just a wonderful, great person. And meanwhile, inside, we're not feeling that at all, and it does show through for those who can pick up the body language, but we think we're fooling people and fooling ourselves, really. And so if we're not being honest, we pretend this is going on in our life, and really it isn't. And it's easy to go there because it seems to be commonplace and almost acceptable, sadly, in our culture. And when I took that word and massaged it and worked with it and brought it within, I thought, sometimes I embellish stories a little bit. And I thought, I'm going to even stop doing that. Like, instead of saying, oh, I spent hours doing this, well, I spent 1 hour, or I spent a half an hour. It might be a little thing that doesn't make a difference in the whole scheme of the picture, but it's taking that honesty right to that key point, of, I know I'm telling the truth, with every word. I really believe there's so much power in the words that we speak. And so I want to be honest with myself, and I want to be honest with everyone around me. And I expect that others in turn would be the same back with me. So it's a reciprocal thing that I expect. And when it's not there, then I go, okay, I see you've just changed your story in the last 10 minutes. So now I don't know to believe anything, and so
Really?
People don't even notice that they're not being truthful or honest with what they're speaking. And it catches up, then you don't have to remember the story that you made up either.
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Each of these teachings, Dianna, seems like they're almost like a thread that's being woven together for a good life and a good way to be in the world. And we covered truth and honesty, humility, respect, love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Courage.
there's 2 more. Courage, yes.
Yeah, there's wisdom.
Wisdom. Wisdom is knowing all of these.
That's true. Yeah.
But not just knowing them, right? Like you say, embodying them, massaging them, really taking them in and living them. And so what would you say about wisdom?
Wisdom is a combination of knowledge and experiences. And when we bring them together, and like you say, when we live the truths that we've learned, then that's what I would call wisdom. And there's this term elders that is within our Indigenous communities, and elders can be not necessarily just someone who, is beyond 60 and has experiences, because they may not be living the seven teachings. They may not have all of those values that are good role models for their people in their community. So they're just seniors or older people, but elders are the ones who walk the talk, and they're role models, and they're there as advisors to the younger people or to whoever is open to learning more about cultural aspects or about just how to live a better life, and that they're there and open and available to their community to be able to share the wisdom that they've gleaned along the way. Things you can't really get from a book. You have to have the lived experiences to be able to truly know how to suggest things to others in a good way, that works for them. It's just real, very genuine, and often very helpful, and helps others so they don't have to experience the pitfalls that some elders have undergone.
And have you noticed a pattern or situations where the grandfather teachings are most called upon?
I wish they were called upon more. Yes, we get called to teach these in places where people are in recovery, because it's really, how do you do life in a healthy way? And people in recovery, often they've come from challenging childhoods or backgrounds with a lot of trauma and addictions that are prominent within their families, in their upbringings, or themselves in their own lives. And so they're not really sure or clear about how do you do life, because they've not perhaps had role models to be able to learn from, or just not had the experiences along their journey. So to me, it's just something that I would love to see being taught in kindergarten and onward, in every school level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yes.
Yeah.
They could go home and teach their parents.
Oh, yeah.
I
Absolutely.
believe these teachings are something that we're born with, knowing. Like, we know what's right or wrong, and we know when, if we're harming someone, that's not the way to treat your fellow human being. But we tend to override that knowingness, or it's so subtle or not in the forefront of our minds, because our culture doesn't bring it forth. So I would like to see it, everywhere more often. And whenever we have an opportunity to do teachings, this is our first one that we recommend, because it's, anybody could benefit from it. It doesn't matter if you've had a troubled life, or if you're Indigenous, or if you're anything. We could all use those teachings to help us to have a better life.
Absolutely. And I love the question you had there. How do you do life? And it almost seems obvious, and it's not obvious at all, right? Because how do we do life? And so I'm going to ask the audience, anyone that's tuning in right now, how do you do life? What kind of qualities do you bring into your life? Which of these teachings have really spoken to you today, or that you now want to emanate even more in your life? We'd love to hear that in the comments. And I wonder, Dianna, who you're also known as White Eagle Woman, and how do you say that in your Indigenous way?
Abske Kaweo Esqueo. that's in the Cree language. I'm actually Algonquin. I'm not sure how to say it in Algonquin, but
Okay.
my partner is Cree, and he taught me the Cree way to say it. Yeah.
Beautiful. And even that, when we're given that name, and even when you get to say it in your own language or in a language that really resonates with you, it's very healing. It's an embodiment, and it's a way that you choose to walk and do life in this
Hmm.
world. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I wonder if there is anything else you'd like to share with us, Dianna.
Um, I think if people even just went out and looked up the seven sacred teachings, the seven grandfather teachings, and explored in more detail what other people think that they mean, and find whatever resonates to you, because I have my perspective, but everyone has their own viewpoint, and there's no wrong viewpoint, and to look into them more. And I recall when just not long before my mother made her transition, I was sharing that with her when I learned about it. And she said, wow. And here she was, like 88 years old at the time. She said, I've never heard of that. And I really like the sound of those words and what they probably mean. I'm going to write something about each one, like
Oh,
a page on each one, just
huh.
to flesh it out for her own self in her own mind, what that meant to her. And so everyone has their way of accepting it and learning from it. And so it's no matter how it's done, I think it's a beautiful thing to take the time to look at them and to review and just see what that means for you. Love, humility, respect, truth, courage, honesty, and wisdom. And may you all embrace those words and make them your own in your own special, unique way, and have a beautiful life following those seven grandfather teachings. Aho.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll put those seven teachings in the video description, the words, and a couple of links, reputable resources for you to look into that deeper if you choose to. And share this video, and let's pass these teachings on to everyone that you know. Help us spread the word of how to do
Absolutely.
life. Thank you so very much for being here, Dianna. Thank you to each and every one of you that have been tuning in. We'll see you again next week on Awaken and Ascend. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.